to Rise Above the Noise. This is Cynthia Franklin along with Ella Melvin. Tonight we'll be talking about procrastination, why we do it, how we can avoid it. But before we start on our topic about procrastination tonight, I'd just like to share just a little bit about myself. As some of you know, I'm Cynthia Franklin, and I live in North Carolina. I moved here 9 years ago from Connecticut. And I'm telling you, North Carolina is a different place, a different world in my concept of this state. But anyway, I'm glad to be here, and we're going to be sharing a lot of different stuff. We're going to be sharing some personal things with you tonight, especially like what's in our brain and why we're procrastinating and how we ourselves overcame procrastination. So again, this is Cynthia Franklin, your host for Rise Above the Noise, along with my co-host, Ella Melvin, and you may hear me refer to her at times as EJ. So sit back.
That's okay. And I want to say good evening, everyone. This is Ella or EJ Melvin. I'm looking forward to what we're going to be talking about tonight. I, too, am from North Carolina, and I have been here all of my life. I did move away for about 40 years. And now I'm back in the great state of North Carolina. I am delighted to be here with Cynthia Franklin on Rise Above the Noise podcast tonight. And we are excited. This is the launching of something very exciting. So stay tuned as we get into our topic tonight. What's in your bin of procrastination?
Do we really want to share what's in our bin? I mean, I know what's in my bin. I have several bins, but the first bin that I went through a couple of weeks, well, maybe several months ago, when I realized that I am a procrastinator. And I don't know, I don't want to say by nature, but I am a procrastinator. I put things on the back burner and just let it sit there, and then I'll move on to something else. But as we were saying, what is procrastination? And it's like kicking the can. I believe I heard EJ say her grandmother or either her mother-in-law referred to some things as kicking the can, and I could see that as kicking the can, and I visualized someone walking down a road and just a kid just kicking the can, just dilly-dallying, not doing anything, not thinking about anything, not focused, but just, relaxing and kicking the can. And sometimes I think that's what we be doing, or myself, I should say, I'll be doing when I'm procrastinating, is delaying something, that maybe I just don't want to deal with at this particular time, or I'm just sitting here, in the back of my head, or because of the noise. As our topic is, our show is titled, Rise Above the Noise.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that it's normal for people to procrastinate. Every single person in this world has or will procrastinate at some time. And just simply putting it, procrastination is avoiding doing something that you know needs to be done, and it needs to be accomplished by a certain time, and we just simply put our hands in our pockets, and like you say, we are kicking the can. We are just walking down the road, and we'll get around to it someday. But we want to say today, we're going to find out why do we procrastinate? What are the kinds of things that cause us to procrastinate as human beings? And then we're going to talk about how we can get rid of kicking that can syndrome. So talk to me, Cynthia. What kinds of things? You like that?
I like the picture that I have in my head of a kid walking down the road kicking the can. Then I have any worries, then I have any care. I mean, even though I'm an adult now, but even that is so, look like to me, you would think it's so peaceful, just walking down the road or the street, and you got a little can in front of you. You're not thinking about anything. You don't have any problems. You don't have any bills or any concern, no family issue, no children issue. I kind of like that picture. But I know that's not realistic, walking down the street kicking the can. I can imagine being at my age now, walking down the street or the road kicking a can. But who knows, I might kick a can for other reasons, but not just because I'm trying to avoid doing anything. And as you were saying, there were different, about our noises, the different kind of noises that causes our, some of us to procrastinate. It could be other people's opinions.
Let's talk about that. Let's not go too fast there. Let's talk about how the noise of other people's opinions keeps us from doing the thing that we know we got to get done. What is about other people's opinions that slows us down?
Because most of us as humans, we value other people's opinions.
Mm-hmm.
For the decisions that we make, if you have a best friend, family member, what have you, although we don't need other people's advice or opinion per se, but we value, especially someone that's close to us, we value, their opinion about what we're about to embark on, what we want to do, what we want to buy. I know sometimes I'm shopping, I may say to a friend, how does this look? Or what do you think? Even though she may say, okay, I like it, and then maybe I don't like it. I'm not going to buy it because she said that she liked it. But a lot of times we do sometimes listen to the noise, the opinion of other people because, like I said, we value them. And we think some would never tell us anything wrong about what we, planning to do or what we're thinking about doing. Not only that, about our choices that we, want to make concerning, whatever area in our life that we're talking about.
I know when I think about other people's opinions, I think about the crowd and the peanut gallery. I think about Ray Ray and them because they always have a negative word about something you're doing, something that you're saying. Even like this podcast is a leap of faith for you and for myself to jump out here and go forward. And part of our noise that is coming from the outside is other people's opinions. Do you think it's the right time? Do you think it's the right subject? And we sometimes get hung up on taking that step of action because we do value other people's opinions, but we should never value other people's opinions greater than God's opinion or greater than what we know that He's told us to do, but we allow ourselves the luxury of falling back on other people's opinions and saying, well, she doesn't think I should go forward, or she doesn't think I'm ready. Let me tell you, see, in the marketplace, we find that you got to take a leap whether you're ready or not. You can't wait until everything's perfect. You can't wait until everybody agrees with what you're doing because guess what, people? Not everybody is going to agree. There's always going to be somebody in the peanut gallery who is shouting you down. So let's think about that when other people are offering your opinion. Don't go ask the whole group of folk what they think because it doesn't matter what they think. What have you heard and what is the dream that you are pursuing? Go ahead.
Not only asking, people their opinion, what they think, but even I could see even sharing your dreams or things that, you're really inspired about doing, that you have aspiration for, and you start sharing it with someone. I mean, I even the talk and sharing about this video show, guys, about the noise and procrastination. And, that it was almost like, okay, well, what are you saying? What are you trying to say? What are you doing? And then I'm like, okay, wrong person. Wrong person. And sometimes that's when we have to stop the noise. When we're sharing and talking and someone starts, like you said, with all these negative thoughts and as you were saying, Ray Ray and them are not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. They're still on that corner talking the same stuff that they were talking 25 years ago. And Ray Ray is still standing there with his little group, offering, talking or downplaying someone else's dreams or whatever business idea that they have. We got a lot of Ray Rays, not just on the street. They could be friends. They could be family members.
Absolutely.
Ray Ray does exist. But we're talking about fictional Ray tonight.
Right. And then you think about, we've got our own personal Ray Ray inside of our heads, too. The type of noise that we tell ourselves. Sometimes the noise is not coming from outside. It's coming from the inside. We're telling ourselves that I'm not ready, or maybe I should do now, maybe I should wait. And we are waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think I was talking with you a little bit a while ago when you talked about Brother Miles Monroe says that the graveyard is the richest place on the earth because people have waited and waited and waited and procrastinated and end up dying with their dreams on the inside, their songs, their poetry, their plays, whatever their gift, their talent, and their desire, because they procrastinated, because they listen to either the outside noise or the inside noise, they never got around to being and doing all that they were capable of doing. So I think it's very important that we're talking about this subject tonight, that we need to be careful that we don't wait till it's too late to get going in what the thing that God has called us to do.
And I think I absolutely agree with you, Ella, about not waiting, because when we think about, even with the quote that you just cited from Miles Monroe, and I think when I read that, it kind of like ignited a bulb, or a light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, wow. First I didn't get it, and then I reread it. I'm like, okay, he's right, because the dreams and things that we have on the inside of us, because of the noise, we don't execute it. We don't go out and embark, and we don't go out and try to do the dreams that I believe that God planted and gave us on the inside of us, the ideas. And just think how many, people, how many of us could be millionaires with ideas that God has given us or dropped inside of us, and we didn't do anything with it. And speaking of that, I think our subtopic has been along with Rise Above the Noise and Procrastination was what's in your bin. And I could talk about me. In fact, I think I put on our community group that I would be sharing about some things that I had in my bin that I was procrastinating on. And for almost 20 years, when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, and I always said I wanted to write a book.
Okay.
I just kept saying, I'm going to write a book. I want to write some stuff. I want to write a book. And I really wanted to write a book. I had the idea. I had stories that I could share. And with writing this book, well, last year, I guess it was my season, after almost 20 years, I wrote a book. And this January 2019, back in December 2019, the book was published. And I have several copies of my book. Now, this took me 20 years to get going.
Okay.
After this procrastination. 20 years. I finally jumped on. I finally executed. Okay, I start writing. And I found a young lady that helped me with the book and publish it. And like I said, I have copies. But then not because of outside noise, because a lot of people don't know that I have written a book. So it's not the outside noises. But as you were saying, it's the internal noise that I hear in my head. Nobody wants to read this book because it's not a real long book, and and maybe I'm saying to myself, maybe I don't have anything that to say in this book that anyone might want to be interested in reading. But these are noises in my head. No one said that to me. I think I shared the book. I let someone read when I had the copy print, and they would say, "Oh, this is good, this is great," but still within myself, I'm like, I guess it's because it's me. A lot of times we don't feel right, or maybe we were taught early on in church, whatever, that we don't promote our own selves or what have you. But I thank God I'm outgrowing that now. That okay, I wrote a book. Yeah, I'm trying to outgrow it. So now I have to push now. It's taking this out my bin. And my next thing, what I'm going to do now, it's been published, is now I'm going to start launching my book and advertising the book, Now I let the people make their own opinions. And I now develop in myself, in my opinion, I don't care about people's opinion now. You can say what you want. You brought it. You pay the money for it. Do what you want with it.
Yeah, I was thinking as we were talking here, I was thinking about how we came up with the second part of the title on procrastination, what's in your bin.
Oh,
now, for myself, I have a little bin beside my bed, and I read, and I still put my book on top of it, and if I open some mail, I'll put a little mail on top of it. And that's how we do with a dream that we have. We just keep piling stuff on top of it because we're going to get around to it eventually. But when I get too much clutter, And I think at the time I thought it was a great idea to put this beside the bed. But when I get too much papers on top of that thing, I just simply open up the bin, flip the lid, and let everything fall into it. And I close the lid back. And guess what? I'm going to get around to it later. But how many of you know, even out there in radio land today, once you put the top on that bin, out of sight, out of mind, and there lays your dream in the graveyard of tomorrow. And I learned while we were studying for this radio broadcast here, I learned that procrastination, why we do it, is our way of coping with challenging emotions or a negative connotation of what's going to happen. Just like you said, what if nobody wants to read it? What if somebody says something negative about it? And so in order to avoid dealing with those type of situations, we will simply do nothing so that we can protect our own little feeling and protect our own little heart. So because we don't want people to say stuff, but it's time. It's time for us to break through that. Go ahead.
Yes, especially if it's coming from someone that we care about, whether it's a friend, family members, and yes, we think that probably would hurt if someone said, why did you write that, or this is not that good, a greater book as I thought it was going to be because of the title. Mm-hmm. But like you're saying, so it's because of the emotion that's attached to our dreams and what we think what we're doing, and then, like I said, the opinions of others does affect what we think of our dream and how we execute our dream, and if we will ever. And talking about your bin that's beside the bed that you keep piling stuff in and on, after a while you have more than one bin because the other one gets full.
Yes, and that's a graveyard. That thing is a graveyard. Hey, I got a question for you. So now that we're talking about that, what are the consequences of procrastination? What can we see that's going to be the end result of us continually procrastinating, or you continually procrastinating?
Okay. Well, I have this little saying, something I found, and I like to read. So I found this here, and I kind of kept it in the back of my head because it says procrastination is the great dethroning place.
The great what?
Dethroning. It kills your dreams.
Dethroning, okay.
Yep, it's a great dethroning place. Procrastination is. And when we execute our dreams or whatever we're doing, that becomes our great rising place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, the procrastination is a killer. And the consequences, you never do what you were destined to be or destined to do in life because of the procrastination, the things putting it in there. We won't fulfill our dreams. We have a lot of what-ifs in our lives going on, a lot of regrets, and maybe even some financial loss because it could have been a stream of income if you had really, decided to start doing and working your dream. And not only that, but I would think you won't have, you'll lose a peace of mind because you always have the little nagging voice in the back of your head that's almost like Ray telling you, oh, you should have did this or I should have done that. And sometimes I believe, I know I have some ideas that I had thought about and never did anything about. And then here comes someone else down the road that actually went out and done it.
Yes. Okay, right now we're going to take a short little break here from the subject on procrastination, but actually we're still going to kind of be talking about it, but I want to give you the opportunity to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. And we're talking about life insurance, and I know that one of the businesses that you have is life insurance. How important is it for us to stop procrastinating when it comes to life insurance?
Well, it's very important, EJ, because with life insurance, we will avoid a lot of painful issues if someone does pass. And life insurance is reasonable and it's cheap. Your premiums will be cheap while you're young and healthy. But then even if you're middle age and you're still healthy or you have slight health problems, the premium still won't be that. But it's really important because we all know we have experienced a family member passing that didn't have insurance. And a lot of times, that can cause a lot of confusion, a lot of craziness will start going on, especially if you've got a crazy cousin that comes in or a relative that want to take charge, and you got chaos going on. And all because they didn't have insurance, or maybe they had a small policy but not enough. And it's really important because the first thing morticians wants to know is, do you have a life insurance policy? And there are good companies, a lot of companies out there. I write for Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Company, Final Expense, and our premiums are really reasonable, and I've been trying to encourage people. But we all need insurance, whether it's just for yourself, your spouse, and even for children, even if you have small children, if you don't have coverage on your job, or even having coverage on your job, if your job closes or if you retire, if you quit, you have an option of keeping it, but it will be at a higher premium rate because it's no longer under a group plan. So sometimes it's good to have, even if you have insurance, to get another policy while you wait. If you have a large policy, say, for example, someone had $50,000, a husband, and he passed away, you won't get that $50,000 right away. So another smaller policy, like $10,000 or $12,000 or $9,000 to help put them away right then and there, you would get that from our company within a 24-hour turnaround. As long as they have the death certificate, they would pay out your policy amount, whatever that is. And while you wait for, the other insurance policy to arrive, so you can, you will have that. But you do need a little something to work with. Some funeral homes would just take, they'll take your policy, you can sign it over to them. And then they'll contact the insurance company, and then the insurance company will send them the check, and the remaining balance that they would send to you, the insurance company would, once their mortician or funeral home deduct theirs. But life insurance is good to have. We all need it because what? We're all going to die one day. We're going to leave here. We don't want to leave our families in any kind of predicament where they have to go on Facebook or wherever to family members to borrow money, or even Facebook to GoFundMe to help put someone away when, if they could afford, if they had a job and working, that they could, buy life insurance now.
Okay.
Or even,
I certainly believe that. And for those of you who are listening, if you are not familiar with Sister Miss Cynthia Franklin and her insurance company, like to say, take the opportunity to get with her. Or if you're in a different area, please do not procrastinate. These are things that we were taught when we were growing up, that these are things that are necessary. But I'm finding in my later years that there are too many people who are just still procrastinating on insurance. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Cynthia Franklin. So we're going to talk about just a little bit before we go. We got just a few minutes, less than 10 minutes left on the show tonight. So let's give the people some tips to avoid procrastination, because we know that we all do it. We know that we're going to get around to it. We know that we have stuff piled in our bin. So how can we avoid this procrastination thing?
I believe that how we can avoid it, a big one, is get organized. We have people out there in Orlando that are very organized. Myself, I'm not really a real organized person, but I am to a certain extent. For some reason, I know where all my stuff is. I don't care how junky or how messy my desk looks. I know where it is when I need to go find it, unless I put it in a new place. And that's probably because of age. Now I have to write down where I put something at, put it up at, to go back to find it. Because, I can't retain things in my head like I could years ago. But, so maybe I still need a little bit, another lesson on organization.
Absolutely. I'm sure we could do a whole show on getting organized. But one thing I like to say, get yourself a planner, to those of you out there, or you can, even on your computers, you have like a mock calendar, mock it up, print it out, and write the vision and make it plain. Listen, I believe it is John Maxwell that says nothing gets done until it's planned, and nothing is planned until it's written down. So go ahead, get you a page, a calendar for the month of May. Determine what you're going to be doing to take you towards the fulfillment of your dreams even for this year 2019? What can you do in the next 10 minutes that will take you towards that? Later on this month in the show, we're going to be talking about goal setting and how to make sure that you can take what is in your vision, what's in your mind, what's in your heart, and take it from vision to reality. But the very first thing, very good, is getting organized. And the second thing that I was just talking about is setting some goals. You're going to have to set a goal, because if you have no destination, you can be sure you are certainly going to arrive at that place. And the third thing we're going to talk about, or we'd like to share with you, is set a deadline. Sometimes we're just kicking the can. Once again, we're drifting down the roadway of life. We've got a plan. We say we're going to do it, but we don't attach any deadline to it. And that can be very detrimental to your dream fulfillment. So set a deadline if you really want to get something done. And finally, I want to say this is a big one for me. I'm glad we were able to get to this one, and that's get rid of distractions. You were talking about just a moment ago how you forget where you put things or forget how things are going, and that can be a distraction. But I'm like the shiny object is bouncing around, and I'm following it wherever it goes. I'm an avid reader and a learner. I love to learn new stuff. But if you're in a constant state of learning, there's not going to be any time for doing. So, yes, you need to get some education on the thing that you want to do in life. You might want to do a little more research, but whatever you do, don't get stuck with the distraction of learning something new. Go ahead and put into action the thing that you know how to do. And don't run after and down every bunny trail just because it looks good. Get your goal and stay focused and leave distraction alone.
And not only leaving distraction, we get rid of distraction, take breaks. Don't try to do it all at once, but space yourself, time yourself in what you're doing. Allow that. That's almost like setting goals, but even for time to take breaks, break away from what you're doing so that you won't become overwhelmed and cleaning out that bin or working on an object or a project that was in the bin and you took it out. But take breaks. And I like to take breaks myself, because I think breaks give us time to regroup and rejuvenate our mind and, eat some brain food, whatever that may be in your case. But to take a break from, just step back from what you're doing and so you won't become overwhelmed with trying to, avoid procrastination again. And and as you were saying, take time for yourself. I like me time, so it's not all work.
Take time for yourself.
Take time for yourself. I mean, even when God created everything in Genesis 1, the seventh day he rested. We need to take time for ourselves some time to even just, maybe go for a walk. I like to shop, so you can walk around the mall or in the stores or just whatever it is that causes you to relax. Some people might say shopping. Shopping might be another distraction for them. But for me, I like looking, like you said, that little shiny object. I love shoes and handbags and that, that's my shiny object. I might be going in the store looking for, a dress or a skirt or something, slacks, and I walk over to the handbag section or the shoe section, knowing that well, it was not my intention to come in to purchase shoes or anything, but the distraction.
Right.
But take a break, just take time for yourself. Get your nails done, whatever most of us do now. Get our nails and have a manicure and pedicure twice a month. So we're doing that, and that's good because, man, we can actually come back and refocus and focus on what that we are trying to do.
Yes, ma'am. And lastly, just before we're closing here, I want to say that when you are putting together your plan to get your things out of the bin, take one thing out at a time. Don't just dump the whole bin because you're going to once again be overwhelmed, frustrated, get a little bit anxious over the things that need to be done. So let's take the time to choose, just pull one thing out and let's work together on one thing. Now, if you need some help
maybe you can multitask, EJ. I multitask. I take stuff out the bin. I have a file here, and I go from
right. That's what we think. That's what we think. But we're getting to the end of our broadcast now. It's around 1 minute to go, so we want to thank you for joining us here on Rise Above the Noise. It's been a great time talking with you, Cynthia, and with our listening audience. We want you to be able to share with us what your thoughts are on the show tonight. You go to our Facebook group called Rise Above the Noise Podcast. If you'd like to email us at soaraboveit@yahoo.com, and we're on Instagram as Rise Above the Noise. So we will try to address any questions that you're going to pop into the group or email us on Monday, May 13th at 11:30 Eastern. So those are the times that we'll be coming to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mondays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern and Friday nights at 7:30 p.m. All right, back to you, Cynthia. I'm going to give it to you to close.
Okay, once again, as Ella stated, we thank you for joining us tonight on our first broadcast on Rise Above the Noise, and we're looking forward for you to join us again Monday morning at 11:30. And also remember, if you have it, like she said in the questions, you can send us to it on our Facebook community group. And because we're having so much fun here on Rise Above the Noise, and once again, we thank you for tuning in tonight, and God bless. And everyone that's a mom, enjoy your Mother's Day weekend.
Good night.